Hi, everyone. I am Alena with Celebrate Every Step. I am an LSW, a clinical hypnotherapist, psychic medium, and spiritual guide specializing in hypnotic healing and past life regression, among many other things. So please check out all of my information. And I am here today with Tara. We just talked about this. So she's a New York accent. So I feel like when I say it, it's not the the right way. But we were both lamenting having tricky names. And she is here with Blackberry and Sage Market, and she makes the most divine products. And I am so excited to talk with her today because we share a love for living more sustainably, more eco friendly, and really looking at living off the land as much as possible. She has taken it way further than I have, but we originally met, I think, at an expo locally where you were doing your kind of natural things and I was doing my natural things, and we are like, hey, who are you? And kind of grew a friendship from there. And because that was probably about 17 years ago. Were you making products back then?
Oh yeah, it's been
Yeah,
20.
20 years. Oh, that's right,
Yeah.
20 years. Yeah. So it was 15 or 16 years ago when we moved back to Pennsylvania, and that was not the norm in this area at all. And so it was very exciting to find somebody who was like-minded in that way. So, welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Absolutely. Absolutely glad to be here.
Yeah. And so, yeah, tell me a little bit about this progression, because I know for us, it started way back when we were living in Kentucky, and just started looking at our body products, because I was like, okay, the skin is the biggest organ. And so for slathering things on us and, washing our bodies and our faces and our hair with things that are toxic, that's not great. I also was very, very sensitive to smells and scents, and learned about how dangerous the fake fragrances were. And it all started to make sense of like, oh, this is why it's making me so sick when I use the, nat the body products that are from the big box stores and the Bath and Body Works and all of those kinds of places. I just couldn't even tolerate walking past them. And so that's when I started diving into our research and looking at our food and where it was coming from. And I had transitioned from vegetarian back into eating meat, but I wanted to do that in a sustainable way. And so, yeah, tell me about your journey into looking at those things.
It was very similar. I mean, I
Mm,
in a city environment,
mm-hmm.
Long Island, and I was always kind of, I don't know what you would call me. I guess part hippie. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was like I was a hippie in the wrong area,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't really know it. Like I knew that I was different than my friends. Like I was very picky about eating. Speaking about being vegan, I was completely vegan. Like I
Mm,
didn't touch anything that was associated with meat or an animal, which was different back then too. There was a
mm-hmm.
lot of us back then, and I remember my friends asking me like, why do you choose not to eat meat? And I'm like, I don't know. It just doesn't agree with my stomach. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
them. So I kind of was weird about that. And then I was weird about all the products that I was using. Like you said, I was very cautious about what I put on my skin. And I don't even know what sparked it. I mean, that was when I was a teenager. So who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
But I met my husband and he grew up in Pennsylvania. And I moved here because of him, for love, of course, and fell in love with the environment, fell in love with
Mm-hmm.
the area, not just a man. I was just like enthralled with like being around nature and seeing the beauty that Pennsylvania offers. So My husband traveled a lot. We were pregnant with our first child, and I decided to go out to the Cook's Forest area, and I ran into this beautiful little herb farm. And
Yeah, Quiet Creek.
yes,
Yes, that was my thing too in this area. I found Quiet Creek, and didn't we go to a wreath making class one time there together? Do you remember that?
I think it was the wreath making class.
Yeah, I think we did some
Yeah,
other things too, but these memories come back as I'm like, oh, I'm going to talk to her today. And it was like thinking way, way back in the olden days.
yeah,
That was because I think I maybe had Isadora, so she just turned 14. So, yeah.
yeah. It was a long time ago,
Yeah.
but yeah, I fell in love with Claire and Rusty, and I was pregnant with Guy, my first child,
Hmm.
and that so he's 23, so that's how long
Oh, wow. Yeah.
ago I ran it. And she was pregnant with her son, and I just said, I literally I'm so afraid of what's going to happen with my children,
Hmm.
their generation, and I want to learn. I want to know. I love to garden. Take me under your wing, and show me how to live more in touch with nature, more
Hmm.
friendly, more sustainable. I want to make my own medicine. I want to create this. I want to.
Hmm.
So I took so many classes with Claire and Rusty, and then I would just show up at the farm and just hang out, and she would teach me different ways to make salves and tinctures and soaps, and I just kind of branched off and learned more and more, not just from her, but then I started reading books and um, just experimenting. I wanted to branch out more than what they had going on. I knew I didn't want to buy, if I didn't have to, I didn't want to buy any cosmetic products from a store.
Hmm.
So I wanted to learn how to not make lip balm, but make tinted lip balm and
Hmm.
blush. And I mean, just keep branching and branching out and making my own candles, making my own salves, learning about homeopath, uh,
Yeah.
growing herbs and flowers and infusing them in my own oil, not just using essential oil.
Hmm.
I just kept going. I just kept branching out more and more. And of course, back then I was the odd duck.
Hmm.
I would go to the store and buy very little, and people would look at me like, okay, she has 3 kids hanging on off a grocery cart. What is she doing?
Yeah.
Like, I canned. I learned how to can. I learned how to, I mean, I just kept going with it.
Yeah.
I I saw that the environment, I want to keep it beautiful in Pennsylvania, first of all.
Hmm.
I want to keep it beautiful around my home. I want my family safe. Um, and then keep going. Everybody I pass, everybody I talk to, I would teach them a little bit about what I did and why I did it. And some were receptive and some weren't.
Hmm.
So I just,
Yeah. And and that's the thing too is if it's what you feel called to and you're learning all of this amazing information, yeah, like share it. And of course, it's going to resonate with some, not with others. But just think about Rusty and Claire, starting Quiet Creek and they've kind of handed over the reins now, but I know how much they've impacted my life. I know how much they've impacted your life, and I know others out there. So that ripple effect of when you're living in your passion and you're living in your true, authentic way that resonates with you, even if it makes sense to nobody else around you. But then look at how you found them and I found them and then we found each other. And then, just that beautiful flow out from them living their passion. And then same with you of how many people you've inspired to maybe look at being a little less toxic and a little more eco-friendly, or a lot more, and that's just the really beautiful thing when we're sharing our passion with the world. So I absolutely love that so much.
yeah. And I get a lot of people that'll come up like when I'm at an event, my products, and they are petrified of it. They're
Yeah.
like, literally like, I want to do all this. I love what you do. I want to live more like this, but it's just too overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And I just say, take small steps.
Absolutely.
Take your lip balm and throw it away and buy a more natural one. Not
Mm-hmm.
mine. If you don't like the scents that I have, that's fine. But go and find somebody that makes something that you do like.
Yeah.
And start from there, and then keep branching out and take it baby step by baby step, because a lot of people are like, I want to do all this, but if I buy one thing, that's not good enough.
But it
Yeah,
is. But it is. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. If you're buying a bath bomb that your kids are going to soak, my kids are obsessed with your bath bombs, by the way. I need to get some more. So I can't wait to stock up on the at the expo. But even that, so they're soaking in that bath bomb. So if it can be a more eco-friendly, well, that's going to affect them on all levels. And that's just one thing, but that one thing can add up over time. And yeah, that was kind of the same so we had started this years prior. And then once we started having kids, it was the same kind of thing. It was like, oh, what I'm putting into my body will now affect this baby that's growing inside of me. And then and then I had read an article about how many toxins were in breast milk. And then I was like, oh, so then if I'm nursing my babies, I want to be giving them milk that doesn't have the toxins in them. And, so then that started to spiral from there. And then by the time we had Jacob, I mean, we were all in. We were getting organic mattresses. We were eating, as much as we could grow, and then getting from local farms, and then, supplementing as needed. And we had really gone pretty deep into the natural rabbit hole. But when I would teach childbirth education, and I had a whole handout that I would give people of all of the different chemicals and where they would be found. I focused on the endocrine disruptors because obviously I was talking to women and families that were in their childbearing years, and endocrine disruptors are so devastating for our cycles, for that postpartum recovery, all of those things. So everything I handed out was focused on the endocrine disruptors. But then, I mean, we're talking, genes and flame retardants in cars. And, it was a very extensive list. And, the foods and the dirty dozen. And so I know it was overwhelming to them, but I kind of said the same thing. Like, just start in one place. If you can start with the dirty dozen, which is a list of plants that are the most, that carry the highest toxic load, switch those to organic and just start there. That's 10 items in your shopping cart that you're switching over. If you can switch over your laundry detergent, because again, something that we're wearing on our bodies that we do every day, then that matters. Just those little choices over time really do add up and make a big difference. So I love that you're like, yeah, it doesn't have to be all in, like just start somewhere and do that.
yeah, yeah. Because I, like I said, I hear it all the time, and my kids would say to me too, like, Mom, why are we the ones that have to bring bring our lunch to school every day? Or
Mm-hmm.
my friends think I'm a kind of weird because I'm not allowed to play video games or own a game console or go in any direction of that matter. Like, you're always having us outside. You're always taking us on hikes. You're always taking us here, there, and everywhere. I mean, because I think that's important too in somebody's life. If you're going to go all natural and go live simply, I think you have to do that as well, because
Yeah.
that's your mind and how your health in
Yeah.
it. So, but I would just tell the kids, like, hey, it's cool to be different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so what? So what if you look different? Or they would say to me, like, when I would go shopping, that I had my own bags. They're like, Mom, how are you going to make a difference being the only person in the grocery store that has your own bags? I'm like, yeah, but maybe that's one less plastic bag in the
Mm-hmm.
ocean, or in a
Yeah.
landfill, or somebody sees that I'm bringing my own and they think my bags are cool, and then they go out and try to
Yeah.
find similar. It's,
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I,
Well, and I think some people are more called to kind of buck the system. And I feel like I've been doing that my whole life. It's, questioning things and wanting more information. And yeah, I mean, we switched to the reusable bags a long time ago. And now look, it's shifted where most people use reusable bags ish. um or at least most people have even heard of it now. Back then they're like, you're bringing your own, what are these bags? It was kind of like a weird thing. But now at least they're familiar with it, so I've seen this shift. I'm sure you've seen it too, but yeah, there's always room for more improvement too. And I like, so I give you a lot of credit because both of our husbands worked away,
mm-hmm.
but I was so overwhelmed. And so, my kids ended up with video games and tablets and those kinds of things because I was losing my mind with them, just being it all on me all the time. And so I definitely fell into that trap. And I do feel guilty about how much we did that. Now it's Matt's back home, and it is a better balance of getting outside of, we don't have the yard that you do either. So that always kind of made it tricky. We live right on a main road. And so when they were little, I was so nervous, even being out there with a fence. And but so, I just want to give you a lot of credit for, yeah.
Don't feel guilty. I was going insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's honest. And
I know.
And I was told, like, Glenn and I both, because Glenn was away, like you said, most of the time. And when he came back, and the kids would just be like, Mom, we are literally the only person that does not have a cell phone. We are literally, but I would say, like, do you know what happens when you're using a cell phone?
Yeah. It is. Yeah. And then I know sometimes I've said to Matt, like, I feel like I know too much sometimes, because then I can also go into that, like, this is going to cause these damage and these issues. And I don't want to put that on them either, make them too worried about doing things. So yeah, it is interesting to try to find that balance of living your principles, making it manageable, but then also not going in too far into that, like wide-eyed, like, we can't do that. This is too, dangerous, and this is going to ruin you, and all of those negative connotations too. So yeah.
But I would make it fun too. Like, I don't know, like Bria, she's a typical girl, and when she got into her teenage years, of course she wanted to go to the store and get herself some cosmetics and stuff like that. And I mean, I would be wrong to say that I held her back from buying that. No, I didn't. Wanted to, she could. But then I would teach her what was in the products that she would,
correct.
And I would tell her, like, hey, this is talc, and talc is, mined with some pretty horrible stuff that can cause cancer. Like, let's see if we can make it an alternative. How about you go with me, and we pick out some stuff and make our own. Or like she wanted like the beach wave a long time ago. That's how my Himalayan spray
came
about. And she said, Mom, there's this beach spray at the store at Walmart, and I really want to try it. And I'm like, what would be even cooler? Like, let's figure out if we can make our own recipe.
Yes.
So we would put it together, and then she was like super excited about it. Or like my toner, she would say, Mom, I want to go get some toner from the store to put on my face. I heard it can make your face really smooth. And she had a little she had a little bit of an issue with pimples and stuff. She said, and then maybe it'll help clear up my skin. So I said, hey, apple cider vinegar, I know it's harsh, but it really, really, truly works. Really works. Let's put something together that can help you and see how you like it. So we would try that first, and she liked it so much that she would tell her friends about it, and then all of her friends wanted some. she made it, well, I tried to make it cool,
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
she made it cool.
Yeah.
So it wasn't pressured. I wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
her like, we could buy this for $25 that has some yucky stuff in it, or we could make it ourselves and it can cost this.
Yeah.
And let's see how it works first. So that
Yeah. And I think that's so, yeah, I think that's so empowering too, to know that it's knowledge, so it's empowering on multiple levels. You're gaining the knowledge to know what you're actually putting on your body and putting in your body so
Mhm.
that you can make a conscious, informed choice on that. And then you also are feeling empowered that, oh, I can create something that actually works, that's
Mhm.
fun to make. I mean, my kids love, so the only things that I still make are toothpaste and deodorant, and then I'll make body butters here and there, but it lasts forever when you
Right.
make a batch. So that's few and far between, but they love putting the different things in, and melting down this and then mixing this, and
Mhm.
it makes them feel proud of themselves too, to have created something that they can then use. So I love that aspect of creating your products, because it's the knowledge but also that creation piece that's just so empowering for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And as simple as like explaining, like, and like not frightening them, but
Yes.
like I
Yeah.
was saying about like the makeup,
Mm-hmm.
how my makeup line started. It was just for Bria and I, and my mother or whomever wanted to try it. And I would tell them, like, talc, it's mined with asbestos.
Mm-hmm.
And asbestos is really bad. So you're smearing your face with asbestos.
Yeah.
Like that's really, really kind of gross. So Brie would be like, well, I really like this really pretty color. It's like a maroon. And how could we ever make maroon? Like how can I make something that color without using anything toxic? And I'm like, okay. So we research together. And I said, hey, hibiscus powder, organic cocoa powder, and maybe a little bit of alkanet root powder can make this beautiful color that you like.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I already know how to make my lip balm. Let's put it together and see how it works. And now she has like 10 all over her, wherever she's at. And I have it in my purse, and then
Yeah.
gave it to everybody. And then it, you know, branched out from there. And I only give people a little tiny bit of information when they come up to me too, because I don't
Mm-hmm.
overwhelm them too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll say, talc is really not that great for you. And it's all of your products that you have at home, like your Maybelline, not to put them down. And the worst company, by the way, with the talc and it full of asbestos is Claire's.
Mm.
That's for little babies and little
Yeah.
kids to play
Yeah.
with, their first experience with makeup. So
Yeah.
when somebody comes up to me, I'm just like, hey, this is maybe a better choice.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you wouldn't mind if they're putting it all over their face and like,
Yes, absolutely.
because you just see the little kids and they're
Mm,
putting that on
yes, smeared, and yeah.
and they're eating it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they're ingesting it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that, and I want to get into all of the different products and kind of even the difference between salves and tinctures and infusing, like what all of those things mean. But yeah, that was when I started switching over my makeup, that was the thing too. It was like, oh, why would I put something on my lips that I know not only is it on my lips, but then I'm going to ingest it as well, that has the toxins in it. And yeah, so I don't even know that I knew you had the makeup line, but my daughter's 14. She's still not wearing makeup, but we're definitely going to be getting yours when she switches over. So
Absolutely.
so can you break down a little bit? You've mentioned the salves, the tinctures, infusing. Um, and bringing in the different the cocoa, the hibiscus to color your different items. So if you could kind of just break down what each of those means, that would be great, because I don't know that everybody knows that information.
Okay, so like infusions, when I'm talking about infusions, I'm taking a plant, a root, a flower, and I'm infusing it in oil. I mainly do oil.
Mm-hmm.
Once in a while, I'll do like a tea to add to something that I can add water to, because most of my products are you can't mix water and oils together, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
like salves and such. But yeah, I'll take the herb or flower from the garden. I'll dehydrate it in my dehydrator. So I'll make sure they're nice and dry, so there's no like mold or
Mm-hmm.
anything that, bacteria that can get into the oils. And then I'll put them in a canning jar, fill it with olive oil. I like coconut oil. I like sunflower oil, and I'll infuse that for roughly 4 to 6 weeks
Okay.
in a dark space, and then I'll strain the herbs or flowers out and use that to make my products. So what did you say to the
And
tincture?
then once you infuse it, then that's what you use to make the salves. So talk about those and what that means.
Okay, a salve is like an ointment that you would put on um, for any kind of skin imperfection,
Mm-hmm.
like eczema, psoriasis, rashes, bruising. And then you get the properties of the herb in the oil that I also mix with local beeswax. I don't have my own bees, unfortunately, but I use a guy that's literally a mile from my house. And I've
Mm-hmm.
used him, and now I used his dad beforehand. So I've used them for 20, a long time.
Yeah.
And then I take my butter. So I love mango butter and coconut oil. And I just make a nice base. So it's kind of like an ointment. And that's how I also make my lotion bars, my body butters.
Mm-hmm.
But I melt those all together, and then I make specific ones. So I don't know. Like for my skin happy salve, I'll
Mm-hmm.
infuse it with calendula and rose. Those are two skin-tastic herbs
Yeah.
to use topically. And then some of them I'll give like a little bit of a twist. Like my hiking salve, I use lavender is for bruising, and I use lemongrass. That's also to keep the bugs away. I use
Mm-hmm.
rosemary because rosemary is good for memory and clarity. Um, what else do I put in there? I'm not really. I think just calendula, rose, lavender, lemongrass, and rosemary. But those are. I mean, so when you're hiking, you're keeping the bugs away. You're using your memory and your clarity with the rosemary, and
Mm-hmm.
lavender can help with small abrasions and bruising.
Yeah, excellent.
Kind
Yeah, and
of all in together.
yeah, and so I when our son Bodhi died, you and Jessica put together a really nice basket for me of some of your products, and the I think it was a sleep one. It was kind of in a container. I just used it all up, or else I would have it here as a show and tell. But it had like a nice twisty container, so it was solid. But then once I put it on, it was, I think it had magnesium and then some other things to help with maybe sore muscles and sleep or something like that. But once you put it on, then it feels so nice on your skin, so it didn't feel like I'm like gooping something on. Like, it smelled amazing. It was in this nice container that I could roll on, and then just yeah, and then it just felt so good on my skin too. So I can definitely attest to how effective and how good everything smells. I mentioned earlier that I'm very, very sensitive to smells, and anything we have ever used from you is just, oh, just smells so good and so
Thanks.
real, and that's the difference when you get real deal herbs, flower, scents. It just, I don't know. I think it hits me on a soul level when I'm smelling things like that versus the fake scents out there.
Yeah, that was. I'm glad you loved everything you got too.
Yeah.
And I'm really super happy that you did. Um, and I did the same thing, like the perfumes and stuff out there. That's another reason why I transitioned, where they
Mhm.
gave me horrible, horrible, horrible headaches.
Yeah.
Some of them actually make me
Oh
nauseated,
yeah.
and
100%.
I just I don't like that. I mean, obviously nobody does, but I don't know if anybody. I mean, I run into people that say the same thing, but I'm wondering, it has to be all of us that feel that way. You
I
can't
know.
spray something like that on and be okay with it. I don't know how. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe it's sensitive, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's because like I know lots of people that use standard products and even standard deodorants and things, and yeah, I get the headache, I get nauseous. So I do think that there are people that are more sensitive. I also have that MTHFR gene mutation, and so I know that slows my detox pathways, and so when your detox pathways kind of get overloaded, um, it makes it harder for your body to process those smelly things because they are actually disrupting your body systems. So I think that there's probably that piece of it too, where there's some people that are just more sensitive overall. I know my dad is super, super sensitive. Like when I was younger and did it before I knew, if I would use like hand lotion or something in the car, he would lose his mind. Who used what back there? Like I can't, rolling down all the windows, and because he would just get so physically ill from any of those scents. So that was probably my trauma response to getting yelled at
Yeah,
about using scents. And then I was like, oh, there's a different way out there.
maybe. Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm even sensitive to essential oil. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, I know the craze is it got into essential oil
Yes.
everything. So I'm even very picky about the essential oils I use, who I source from,
Mm-hmm.
how much of it I use in my product, and I'm very specific in my intentions when I put them into a product,
Yeah.
how much I'm dosing myself with. And actually, I've even started lately transitioning, especially with my bath bombs, um, is using hydrosols. I really, really
Mm-hmm.
like hydrosols.
Mm-hmm.
They are, I'm sure there's people that don't know what a hydrosol is. So during the distillation process of extracting the oils, the essential oils from the plant, they're saving the condensation of that process. So you're actually getting the benefit of the peppermint or the lavender or whatever they're using to distill. You're getting the property in a very, very low concentration
Mm-hmm.
versus the high concentration essential oil, and you're still getting
Yes.
the benefits.
Yeah.
And so I really like that. And not to mention, it's less waste.
Yes.
So
I
they
know. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I just had the person before you. She's a health and soul coach, but we were talking about essential oils, and I'm glad you brought that up because it wasn't something that I thought to mention when we were talking, because we talked about so much else, and that was kind of just like a little sidebar. But yeah, like they are super concentrated, and I don't think that education is always out there when people start using them, of like like a drop goes a long way. And again, that will overload your system because your body, even though it's natural, your body still has to process that. And
yeah.
so, anytime we're putting anything on or in us, there is a breakdown process that has to happen. And so, yeah, I didn't, I had heard hydrosol, and I guess I never thought about where that came from. So I love that they're kind of getting a double benefit from that process and using those too. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it too. I love the fact that not as wasteful, and I actually enjoy it um, because it's just enough
Mm-hmm.
of the essential oil to make the product, the scent, and your intentions of it in your product without
Yeah.
harshness. And obviously, I can't put it in my salves because it's water. It's
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
water, but I do love using it for my bath bombs, my toner, my Himalayan salt spray, or when I'm making lotion, um, or just, I mean, even just to put it in my bath, or use
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. I'll mix my sugar scrub. I know it has oils too in it, but I'll take it and then I'll set it aside and use it in my bath when I'm taking a
Yeah.
bath, along with the sugar scrub,
Mm-hmm.
salts that I put in my bath. It's just
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And oh, the last one that you mentioned were tinctures. So could you talk about tinctures and what that means?
Okay. Tinctures I don't sell. We
Okay.
specifically for our like
Okay. Yeah.
our family,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but
It's tricky to sell those because it's not it's not exact. And so yeah, same thing. We make them, but yeah, they're just for us.
yeah, because you have to. I mean, it's low. It's low in concentration of what you're using. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like I'll use these little pellets that are like 200 cc, and I'll take this some water and some organic vodka. Actually, I found organic
Mm-hmm.
vodka.
Oh.
I'll do half and half, and then just put like a couple of those little pellets in. So say, like I tell all my customers, arnica topically you can use.
Mm-hmm.
We ingest it. I make a tincture of arnica, but you're supposed to be very careful because
Mm-hmm.
it can destroy your liver if you use too much of it. But if
Mm.
we're in super super pain, that's what we'll go to.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, you let it sit, and I mean, you can have them for years and years. So we have bottles and bottles and bottles of them. Like
Yeah.
I even do we do the homeopath way as well, not just like the herbs. So we'll use, likes cure likes in homeopath.
Mm-hmm.
So say the kids had a bad season with poison ivy, we'll give them a tincture of roostox, which is actually poison ivy in a very, very low concentration.
Okay.
It's kind of like the same theory as if you're allergic to something and you go to an allergist and you get allergy shots. So you're
Mm-hmm.
what you're getting exposed to in low doses. But if we give them roostox, they won't have a problem with poison ivy for like a couple years.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, it also is really good for canker sores.
Oh
Like
neat.
my one son, he gets really, really big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Gave it to him, and it's been about 5+ years since he's had one.
Oh wow. Yeah, and that's the really interesting thing. And let me just put a disclaimer in here that neither of us are doctors, and this is not a substitute for medical treatment. And please reach out to your
So,
medical providers. And we are serious about that because, both of us have been studying these things, looking at these things for 20 plus years at this point. So we are definitely not giving out advice on that and what this would look like for you. So yes, please, please, please take that very seriously and and look at those things. And yeah, I know for us, our favorite tincture is the New England Aster.
oh,
Because of for breathing issues, I use that when I started running more. And a friend of mine is a longtime herbalist, and she was like, "Try this." And you know where we live, and it's a hill every direction from our house. So if I'm going to go for a run, I'm immediately going up a hill, and I would be wheezing and just like couldn't catch my breath at the top of these hills. Yes, I was also out of shape at different times, but there's a different breathing issue between more of like an asthma bronchial reaction versus just being out of shape. And it would go into that, and I started using that a New England Aster tincture, and I didn't have issues again. That was years ago, probably like 2000 7, 8, I bet, that I first used it. And then after we had a bout of something in early 2020. That was before we knew what COVID was, but it could have been. Um, and it lasted in all of our lungs for just like weeks and weeks and weeks. And all of a sudden that popped in my head and I was like, oh my gosh, New England aster tincture. And so I started, for all of us, taking it, and it got that wheezing and that gasping and all of that. It all went away again. So it was amazing. So it's amazing when we look at plant medicine and what that means and what it does in our body and how it can benefit us in just so many different ways.
Absolutely. And like Alena said, please do your research.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even think about that after what I said, but
no, but it's, yeah. Well, and this is that dicey place, where this information is out there. But before we got on, we were talking about how, we've been doing this for a very long time. And now there's so much more information out there, because I know when I started, and I'm same for you, you'd buy a book. So you're getting information from, one book. It was kind of really, I mean, the internet existed, but it was very early stages, thinking before Google, really. So it was a book or the mentorship, like from Quiet Creek Herb Farm, from you, just getting together and making these things and learning from each other. But now, after years of study, the knowledge base that you just have in your head is large, but it's important to make sure that you're looking into those things for yourself, because there are contraindications too with certain herbs and certain diagnoses and things like that too. So
yes, we're super sensitive here at our house too. So I had to research before I even felt comfortable using any type of essential oil or anything else on my kids. I wasn't diving in that quickly. I was using caution before. So yeah, that's a very important point.
Yes. And I want to touch just real quick on canning, and then we'll talk about what you are going to bring to the expo. So what do you all like to can? Because that's just my favorite question to ask people. What do you grow and what do you can?
I mean, my favorite would definitely be our homemade tomato sauce. So I do about 70 jars a year. So I have enough. But I do all types. I mean, I do jams, pickles.
Yeah.
You name it. Whatever I can grow, we'll can.
Yeah.
I want to savor it. And then I also do the blanching too. And I don't just can. So like green beans, I'll do blanching and freezing, and corn, I'll do blanching and freezing. But yeah, you want to have that garden taste throughout the year.
Yeah.
So, and then whatever, like you said, whatever I can't grow enough of, I will go to the store and well, not the store, like the local farm or what,
yeah,
Pine Valley or whoever's setting up, and I'll buy from them what I can in large quantities.
Yeah, we're really lucky in this area, because obviously this is going out to a wider audience, that we do have, space and land to grow our own foods, and then so many local farms to access. And now people that understand about, not spraying everything, and just those different aspects of growing their food, and what they're selling to the public too. So we are pretty lucky around here, and we have lots of Amish farms and
and farmers
markets. So yeah, we have a lot of access to things. My favorite, are the cucumbers. Oh my gosh. We buy the seeds from the Baker Creek, and last year I got a new variety, and oh my gosh, the flavor from those cucumbers out of your garden is just so dynamic compared to, what you're getting from this store that's been shipped from so far away. And so I just love this time of year as we're getting the garden going. Although my cats we started plants here this year,
Mm-hmm.
and our cats ate the sprout, the plants as they
Oh,
were growing. So they ate all of our peppers and all of our cucumbers and all of the herbs.
no.
So every time they would start to sprout, then the cats would be like, "Ooh, we got a little treat up here." And so the tomatoes look great, but everything else we're gonna have to, well, the cucumbers we can put just straight in the seeds in the ground. But yeah, and we could have probably problem solved that and figured out something to keep the cats out. But man, are they tricky little buggers that just go through anything we tried to
I,
to stop them from getting to them.
oh my.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So,
go into seed saving too.
yeah.
I mean that we do that every year too. So we'll save our seeds and we'll regrow from what we save.
Yeah.
Like our green beans especially. And I mean everything. I mean even down to I make my own sponges. So I grow loofah
Oh yeah.
and then I dry out the loofah and the end of the season we have sponges for the entire year for our kitchen, for our bath, whatever.
That's
They're
amazing.
awesome. And then I save the seeds and then I regrow my loofah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, seed saving is amazing. Oh, this was such a great conversation. Thank you
yeah,
so much for this. And so, what are you going to be bringing to the expo on June 24th? And then also, I know you have shops. So, please check out her information, her pages, so that you can order and you ship as well. So, if you can't come in person, you can still check out all of her items. So, what are you going to be bringing?
so I'll just bring a little bit of a lot of what I have. I'll have some of my salves. I'll have my organic makeup. So I'll have my lip and cheek tint, my blush, and I'll have the Himalayan salt spray that I was talking about, the toner. I'm trying to think. I'll have deodorant, milk baths.
Mhm.
I'll have bath bombs.
Yeah, I was going to say, make sure you bring the bath bomb.
Lip. I even make meditation candles. I'll have some
Mm,
of those. So I'll have a lot going on, a lot to
yeah.
from.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for being a part of it this year. I am so excited to have you there. And is there anything else that you feel called to share today before we sign off?
Not really. I'm just excited to see all your beautiful faces, especially
Yes.
you, Helena. It'll
Yeah.
be you, and then I'm sure it'll be a beautiful day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. And thank you all for watching and listening. And we will see you soon.
Yeah, great.